Ha ha ha, hee, ho ho ho. Merry Christmas, not. I'd like to wish all my subs and followers a nice and cozy and loveful family time with their family or loved ones. I won't say Christmas because the whole Christmas game is a big fakery, and Christmas is kind of a modern rite that overrode the original one, in which the original version it was all about mushrooms, which is why the pine tree is playing a role in our current concept of it. So the Santa guy was a shaman, the religious spiritual guy from back when religion wasn't stolen or hijacked by the Vatican and the order of priests that follow them. The shaman collected mushrooms throughout the whole fall. Then he shared them with the whole village by delivering them through the chimneys, which had a little separate reason I cannot straight away comment. It had something to do with the door had to be shut for the warmth not going out or something. Anyway, the mushrooms were delivered through the chimney, not the toys. Well, you could see them as toys after you ate them. And then the people dried the mushrooms in their stockings above the fireplace. That's where those stereotypical concepts come from. The presents under the tree were nothing more than mushrooms that grew and still grow under the pine trees. And they get eaten by the deer, which is why they gave them a red nose and pure full black eyes, because they were tripping as fuck. Which is probably why they could fly and talk. What they made of the shaman type is not coincidentally an anagram of Satan, because it's the same letters. So your Santa made up by the Coca-Cola factory, or at least the controlling side of it. Put that in as a contradicting no modern concept. And of course it's not about mushrooms anymore. Nobody's tripping. But what are people doing? Sharing material presents. Maybe trying to show off with the best one. Going to the fancy restaurants. Trying to talk about birds and... No, not birds and bees. I don't know how you say it in English, but cows and calves, as we say. Talk about shit that doesn't matter. Because in the old days, we talked about shit that did matter. And we did introspection. We took trips, inside journeys, to see where we lacked and where we could gain, to see which lessons we missed. And that introspection gave room for a mutual feeling of love that was shared by the whole family after their trip was finished. And that's when they had a Christmas meal. That's when they feasted. Because they didn't eat before, they fasted. Maybe for 3 days, I don't know, probably not 40. And then they feasted that night. That's where that Christmas dinner comes from. And if you look at some other concepts they call modern, some of them coming from the Freemason and very popular Dr. Seuss, who wrote the story of the Grinch. I actually watched the cartoon, not the Jim Carrey movie, but the cartoon. The Long Player movie cartoon. I saw that the Grinch lived in a rock, in a cave. And I saw that the people lived in a nice town, well lit. Every house was well lit. And then I saw something that I didn't see before. When the Yeti, when the Grinch, which is the same as the Yeti, it represents the same entity. When he strolled through the town, looking at the people, calling them out on their materialism and sharing of silly, obsolete things that never matter. I realized that the Grinch is not the bad guy. He is the good guy. And the people are the bad guys. And the Grinch relates to the Yeti, as the Yeti was the original inhabitor of this location or realm or ice ring, limited bounded living space we have called Earth, which is a flat realm. And his living environment got invaded by another race, which we call more developed, and that was humanity. And that's where the Avatar movie comes in. Because we were the ones that killed the giant trees here. There were trees miles, kilometers high, hundreds of meters wide. There were silicon trees, and they grew up to the heavens of the earth, as written about in old scriptures, not only the Bible. The country of Lebanon still has one of those giant trees on their flag. So the Yeti was one of the creatures that was living here in the trees. But the trees made room and materials for our modern society. There would have never ever been a modern society or a computer without the cutting of those trees. Because back in those primordial days, there was no land, there were only trees. What we call land and dirt and earth is nothing but leftover tree that got processed over and over. The original trees that got petrified are still standing, at least the bottom of it. And that's what we call tabletop mountains. They clearly have the same biological what's the word? The same biological compound, with the basalt columns on the outside representing the crust. And they go up from the bottom to the top. And then the petrification took back a long time ago. The bark, the crust, shatters on the outside and creates small gravel. And that's exactly what you see at every tabletop mountain on this flat realm. And then there's the whole Christ, Mass concept, which is a rite, as I said, introduced by the Vatican order. To manipulate and semi-overwrite the original story. And the whole Christ being born thing had nothing, but absolutely nothing, to do with an entity or a person that got born on what we call Earth. The 3 stars, or the 3 wise men, they were not wise men. There were 3 stars that were following another star. And the Star of Bethlehem was what they followed. But it's just the natural order of stars in the sky. And if you go back in time, there was a moment in which the three stars, no, I'm saying it wrong, it's a cyclical event that the three stars reappear every year to follow the Star of Bethlehem. And it's nothing more but the rotation of the sky above us. Now, what the whole Christ consciousness represents, on the other hand, is a good thing. Because we all know Christ or Jesus was about love and sharing with the brothers or sisters. But what the actual character, which I think were more than one, but there probably was one that reached above the other ones, that could have been such a spectacular entity that he or she, because I think it would have been a she, would have been born on a very, very specific date. And by that I don't mean a numerical date in the Gregorian calendar, but a predictable date in the original calendar system of 13 and 20 aspects. Now that Christ figure never talked about God. The whole God concept is what put us away from the actual truth of the original concept of this reality. And the whole God thing did nothing more but to put a face on that entity. Giving it a face gave the controlling forces the control over that figure. And from then on they could just claim and demand and ask whatever they wanted from the population. Especially when there was times that that population had to recover from certain cyclistic events that almost ruined the world of that time. Those cyclical, as they say, reset events happened more than once, but it was only the most recent one in which the religious faction took over the biggest percentage of the what we call global population that exists here within the ice rings or ice dome And that was spread through the message of Christ, Jesus, and the Lord, which all of them are myth and fantasy. That said, I'm not claiming that myths are lies, because real myths are our actual history. Marry whatever you want. Share good times and love with your family and the ones you love. Thanks for watching my channel.